Hey guys, I have some parts that I've gathered from pretty much all over the place in my house, maybe a few off of eBay, and we're going to build a Pentium 2 Slot 1 rig. Hey guys, welcome to DOS Storm. So today I'm building a computer, as I said in the beginning of the video. I really just want something that I can use for the channel and for my own personal enjoyment to play some old games. So let's get started on the parts I used and how I did this build. So to start off, I needed a case. So I had this case in my garage for a while. I actually got it back from when I used to work at Goodwill. I got it for like $5 or $6 when I used to work there. It was just going to go in recycling, and they put a price on it for me, which was pretty cool. It came with some parts in it originally. I think it had a 8800 GTX or GT, whatever those are called. But I had stripped those parts out a long time ago. I really just needed a case. This case doesn't really fit the build too much. It's sort of a mid-2000s case, as you can tell from the Windows XP product key that's on the inside of it. But overall, it's a pretty sturdy case. No idea what the make of it is. It kind of looks like a Raid Max or something, but I don't know. What I do know is it was really dusty. Like, I knew the outside was dusty, but I took off the front and yeah, it was super gross. But thankfully, it cleaned up pretty well. I did notice there was some rust on the inside, and I decided to try some of this iron-free stuff to spray on it, and it just sort of melts away the rust. It's kind of made for cars, but I decided to give it a go. And overall, it did take some of the rust off, but it didn't particularly go super well. First of all, this stuff is really stinky, and second of all, it kind of like discolored it a little bit. And then it leaked all over a cabinet I had in the corner and stripped all the paint off. So one thing to keep in mind, if you do use this stuff, be careful. It's pretty powerful. So on to the heart of our build here. This is the BioStar M6 TLD. This is a Slot 1 motherboard, and I got it on eBay for about $60. It came with a Celeron MMX 266 megahertz and about 64 megs of RAM. I ended up replacing the RAM with a Kingston stick instead, and I really wanted to use the Pentium 2, like I said at the beginning of this video, but unfortunately that didn't work out as I didn't have the right mounting brackets. I didn't realize that these Celeron ones use a completely different mounting bracket system, so that's unfortunate. I guess I'll just have to switch it out later. I selected this board in particular for a couple of reasons. For one, it uses standard ATX power, so I don't have to worry about any type of weird conversion with the power supply. Second, it actually has USB ports, and third of all, it was actually just a really good price on eBay. It's hard to find these for less than like $100. So on to storage. Originally, I wanted to use one of these CF card adapters. I have a couple different ones here. One plugs into the back and mounts in a slot. You can just change the cards out, and then I have another one that just fits right on the board. I originally wanted this so I could switch operating systems easily, so I could just have a card for each operating system. Maybe have one with Windows 95, one with the 98, one with 3.1 and DOS. Unfortunately, that didn't really work out because I kind of had a dumb poo-poo stinky moment where I realized that there's only one 4-pin floppy connector on a power supply. So I am planning on getting this to work, but I'm just going to have to use adapters later. So instead, I just went with a traditional hard drive in this case. So on to some boring stuff. I have a generic CD-ROM here that I just slid in, and a Sony floppy drive. These parts I just kind of robbed out of some old systems over the years. They're black, they match the case, yeah, they work. So next I slotted in some add-in cards. For graphics, I used an ATI Rage 128 32 megabyte version AGP. This is a nice cheap little graphics card. I got it for less than $10 on eBay. Should keep up with 90s gaming perfectly fine. As for a sound card, I really wanted something that had good Sound Blaster compatibility and that was ultimately relatively cheap. So all in all, I ended up with this Opti 82930 ISA card. Should have pretty good Sound Blaster capabilities. It's got an OPL3 chip on board, so I'm expecting pretty good things from this thing. So onto power supply then. I didn't really want to get an old power supply. That's normally not really a good idea, so I decided on this EVGA 500 watt power supply. I originally got this power supply from Amazon and it was damaged in the mail. There's a tiny little dent in the side of it, and Amazon just basically gave it to me for free when I asked to return it. So It worked out that I just had this one, so I'm going to use it in this build. So that just about does it for the parts. So I just wired up the front panel, and I did some classic 90s cable management. So then I was excited, and it was time to turn on the computer, and so that hideous noise was actually the fan rubbing on the side of the metal on the fan grill, and I was able to bend it back and it didn't do it anymore. But after like 3 reboots, the power supply completely failed and wouldn't turn on anymore. So unfortunately, I had to rip the whole case apart and replace the power supply with this Antec True Power unit, which is like a 750 watt unit. It is honestly super overkill. I've had this thing for years though. It just keeps going, so I guess I'll use it for now until I get something better. But hey, the system booted up, so I was ready to install Windows 98. So I got all my CDs ready, all my drivers and everything, and I started the Windows installation, and my hard drive crapped out halfway through the installation. I was getting some kind of stack overflow error. So I had to rip the whole thing apart again and replace it, this time with this Maxtor hard drive that I had just laying around. But you know, that's the story with old computers. Unfortunately, yeah, the problems didn't stop there. I had a problem with this sound card that I bought, which is unfortunate because I really wanted this sound card to work. Thankfully, I'm working with the eBay seller that I bought it off of, and he's going to give me a refund. So for now, I just slotted in the Analog Devices 1816 AD, which I did a video on a while back. It's kind of a weird card, but it'll give me Sound Blaster compatibility for now. So thankfully, despite these setbacks, I was still able to get everything working with Windows 98. And as you can see here, I'm playing some Duke Nukem 2. Yeah, and as you can tell, that AD card still sounds pretty weird. I'm looking to replace that with something a little bit better later on, maybe a real Sound Blaster or an Audio Spectrum or something. But yeah, for now, it'll be good, and I can play some DOS games. I mean, this thing will be a beast. I still hope to put in the Pentium 2 eventually, but honestly, this Celeron is pretty decent. I actually played some Windows games with it too, and man, this 3D accelerator, it's pretty awesome actually. I played some Mega Man Legends here, and I was getting over 30 frames in most spots, so I'm pretty impressed with that, pretty happy with that, and I look forward to trying out some games in my Windows library with it. But yeah, despite the problems I had with this, I had a lot of fun building it, and I look forward to showing you guys some of the upgrades I'm going to put in it. I definitely want to get a different sound card in it eventually, maybe a real Sound Blaster or a Media Pro Spectrum, something like that. I also have some weird add-in cards. I'm going to show you guys some weird software and stuff. So if you like this kind of vintagey stuff, old hardware, please subscribe and hit like. And hey, I'm on Twitter now. I tweet stuff sometimes. I'm not the best tweeter. But, you know, if you like vintage games and stuff, come check it out.